Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? It's Jeff Mosher, it's Adam Kaplan, and we're here for our normal midweek Wednesday AM review of the carnage in this case because the Eagles are coming off another loss. They lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've done reviewing a lot of the tape myself, although, you know, we like to give the sourced intel.
Oh, it's going to be good. We got some good bleep on this one, man. Jeff, I got a friend whose team doesn't play the Eagles for several weeks. He just got started on the Eagles, and he happened to watch that. That was the first tape that he watched, and I was laughing because he had stuff I did. You know, as you know, Jeff, when you watch tape, I know you've got some really interesting stuff. When you watch tape or you get it from other people, you learn stuff that you didn't see on the TV copy. Someone shows sometimes, like, really? Did this really happen? I'm like, hey, you saw it. It happened. Okay. I didn't lie. So anyway.
Yeah. I hate to use a cliche, but there was some good, there was some bad, and there was ugly. And unfortunately, there was more bad and ugly than there was good. We'll go through it.
On defense, yes.
I think even on offense, if you're talking about run blocking, there was some.
For
that
sure.
falls into the ugly department.
Yes, you would be correct. That's confirmed.
I mean, to be fair, if you just take away, and I don't want to diminish it, but if you take away what Carson and Travis Fulgham did together, everyone else, there wasn't really a whole lot. I mean, there's more. You got drop passes from Hightower. You got bad blocking up front from a few guards. You got a running back who didn't have that many holes after one great run. So, I mean, the score looks nice, right? You scored that many points, but there were a lot of points left on the board for both teams, right? I mean, you mentioned,
more for the
Steelers could add 50.
Well, that's what one person told me. Not everyone agrees on that I've spoken with, but I would tell you, you're right on the Eagles, man. They did. I was definitely surprised as we get into it, but yeah, there was some. We'll get into it in a second. There were definitely some surprises in the game that I was not aware of, and my overall reach on the offense was that I did not think they could do as well as they did, but I did say on our Friday show that the Eagles could very well give up 30+, and they sure did, and I kind of got a chuckle. The YouTube commenters went after me on Friday and said I didn't know what I was talking about, and I don't respond to it. It's mostly nonsense.
Stop reading the comments.
Yeah, but I happen to know what I want to do is I try to get the spam off of these.
Oh, right.
Folks, what you ought to do is don't post there. Be a smart fan. I know there's some smart fans on YouTube. They're there. We have to find them. Go to our page on Facebook. It's really good. And Jeff and I do join in there a lot. When we have the time, and great discussions, and we do appreciate their input. But I give the credit. I do give credit to the Eagles, though. They fought hard. They were undermanned that game, and they gave the Steelers all they could handle.
Yeah, they did. It was certainly an improvement from an offensive rhythm standpoint. I can't believe it's Wednesday already, by the way. The holiday weekend has really made this week kind of shortened. So we're getting ready already for the next Inside the Birds pregame show, Inside the Birds pregame live presented by DraftKings, which will be, again, at the Goose Island Brew House. It'll start at 10 in the morning. You can find it on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, all Inside the Birds platforms. And, of course, we've got our Inside the Birds shows. Also, Grilling the Birds with Trey Thomas and Derek Gunn will come out Thursday. Tales from the Blind Side already out with Trey Thomas, Jamal Jackson, and Todd Hermans. And that is a great episode. You got to check that out. Those three former offensive linemen really chopping it up on what's going on with the Eagles and then giving their perspective from their playing day. So make sure you check out both of those shows on our YouTube and our platform and our podcast platforms. And of course, we did a great Adam. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh yeah, let's go.
We had a chance to talk with Ron Jaworski.
Yeah.
Boy. Jaws is such a good guy, and he tends to be an optimistic guy. And he's got connections to the Eagles and ties, and he has a lot of respect for the Eagles. So sometimes when you interview him, you think you're going to get like the distilled version of Ron Jaworski, but we got the undistilled version of Ron Jaworski. He was very honest, critical when necessary.
Well, you know why?
Formative.
Because it's tape based. It's totally from all 22.
Yeah, the eye in the sky don't lie.
Right.
So, but he had some really interesting things to say about Carson, about Zach Ertz, about the defensive construct. So I encourage everyone to check out the Inside the Birds TV, and then we'll put it on the podcast platform as well, because he really was very serious about his insight and his wisdom that he shared with us. So check all those things out, and and I guarantee you will not be dissatisfied. All right, we're going to get into the particulars of the game. There were some transactions first that I think we'll get into first before we start going through the breakdown. Again, I always want to remind everybody to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code ITB for a special offer when you sign up. That's code ITB for a special offer when you sign up only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, so today the 21-day practice window was activated for Will Parks, who, man, do the Eagles need this guy in the worst way. So he'll start practicing, Adam, this week. And, again, just like last week with Deshaun or Alshon, you have to see if these are limited practices, if they're full.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just being at practice is no great shape. I mean, it's good, but it doesn't mean anything for Sunday just yet.
Well, it does mean something, but as you said, until he actually gets through practice, you don't know what his status is. Correct. So the way it's explained to me was it's worse than Miles Sanders' hamstring strain, which was a grade 2. He came back after 4 weeks. This guy, Parks, had a worse hamstring strain. There are only 3 grades. There's a grade 2, grade 2 plus, and a grade 3. Grade 3 is an 8+ weeks. This one's probably 6+ weeks. Here's the way it was explained to me his role is going to be. He's going to do not all. Once he's up to it physically, I have my doubts whether he'll play this week. And even if he plays, it probably wouldn't be a lot because he's been out almost 7 weeks. I would think that based on what we reported in the spring and what I know, he's going to play that star role, which is it's the role that Jim Schwartz and Malcolm Jenkins sort of created. Mm-hmm. It was that in the box, jack linebacker, safety. He'll cover tight ends, Geoff. He's going to cover tight ends once he's healthy enough. He's big. He's physical. He's real nosy, they say, in the run game. And he's a real fearless player. That fans are going to love this guy if he could stay on the field with his hamstring. But that's kind of where they're at with him. He's, we'd said for folks that if you're new to our show, we would report it back in, whenever he signed in March, that he's going to play some of Malcolm Jenkins' role. And from what I understand, he did a good job of it before he got hurt in training camp. Mm-hmm. Now, is he going to see all of it? Probably not. There are other guys who will play in the box, but this is a very unique role. This is some of the things that Jim Schwartz wanted to do, is have a guy could cover tight ends, and by golly, he's going to get a chance to do some of that.
Well, I mean, they sure could have used him on Sunday, covering either tight ends or slot receivers.
Yeah, I must have seen 1,000 tweets on that on Tuesday, was it? Yeah, when they put him on the 21-day window. By the way, he's still on IR.
Right.
He will be on IR until they activate him to the active roster. He's only on a 21-day practice window.
Right.
And they have till 4 p.m. Eastern, just to be clear before we move on here. They have till 4 p.m. 4 p.m. on Saturday to activate him to the 53, where he remains on IR for another week.
Right. And we'll see Vinny Curry. He was activated into the 21-day practice window last week.
Right.
He wasn't on the injury report because he's still in the window. So
Correct.
We may not even be able to see what, from an injury report standpoint, how much Will Parks is doing this week because they don't have to put him.
It's a great point. I hadn't thought of that. That's actually a great point. And they most likely would wait till Saturday. If indeed he has a chance to play this week, mm-hmm. you would wait till Saturday, because what the coaches always tell me is that when they have a player come back from injury, just really when it's a long-term injury like this one, they want to get through the 3 days of practice. And then they want to see the Saturday walkthrough, how he looks, and see how he responds each day to a significant hamstring strain. They want to see how he responds to it. And remember, this is a new player to them. They don't know him. So they're trying to get to know him, and he didn't play in the preseason. He had no offseason. They only had him for what, Geoff? 3+ weeks?
Yeah, and it really wasn't the normal kind of practice that you would expect. So
right, exactly.
We're I hate to say it because they really need a solution, but I think we're kind of a couple of weeks away from really seeing Will Parks making a big impact on the team. They may be able to work him in, but even if he misses the Baltimore game, but it practices all week the following week, that's a short game, right? That's the Thursday night game for the Giants.
Oh, geez, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, next. Okay, so yeah. Right, so the next Thursday's game is at home, 8:20 against the Giants.
Right. So you're really looking at the Dallas game after that, and from where what we're doing this today, that's kind of far away. I mean, they need help now, and it's hard to say how much Will is going to give you.
Right, they're not going to rush him. This is a significant injury he had, and they just got to get through it. It's going to be interesting to see whenever he plays how much he can handle. And they call the Eagles they call their secondary now the safeties, positionless players, because they do not play traditional safety roles. They really don't. Although Malcolm is farther back in the secondary. Rodney McLeod.
Yeah,
he's not your traditional strong safety or free safety because he's back.
Right.
He doesn't really play the traditional role. They have different roles from people have told have graded the tape. They kind of explained to me they don't look anything like the old when I grew up in the game. Your free safety was in the back, and your strong safety's in the box. They didn't mix. They didn't split safeties. It was just it's the way they did it. But the game's completely changed because of the rules on offense. Right. But that's it. Will Parks is a guy that they feel like. And how about Greg Cosell? He loves Will Parks. He thought he could. He really does.
I'm excited to see the kid. I mean, he's a Philly kid. He came here. He wanted to be an Eagle, so it's always exciting when you get a guy like that. And there's opportunity certainly at the Eagles secondary position to play well and earn yourself more than a 1-year deal. So and again, they need anybody who can get in there and play at a higher level than they're getting right now. So we'll have to see how that goes. There was a report from Mike Garafolo, NFL Network today, that Lane Johnson's second opinion didn't really change how they feel, that the ankle is just something that might need more rest.
Yep.
And even though that's the case, it doesn't sound like he's being ruled out for Sunday. It's kind of a wait and see thing.
It's going to be tough for him to play because the ankle that had surgery, you're going to have pain and soreness from it because he's not making it better by keeping, he played before he really should have played. And the reason why I have the second opinion is they want to get a little bit more information on why this keeps happening. So he's explained to me, they want to figure out, get better information on, okay, we know what it is. It's from a surgery. He's playing on it. Is there anything we have to worry about? Is it, this is a very unique surgery. I don't know that any Eagles ever had the tightrope before. I could be wrong, but I'm talking about with the Eagles. We know that Jalen Hurts had it at Bama, but I don't think any player, I could check on it, but I don't know if any players ever had this ankle tightrope surgery as an Eagle before Lane Johnson. So it's, although the same doctor, I'm told, who did Lane surgery did Jalen Mills' the Liz Frank surgery. So that's kind of where that's at.
So I wonder if I know how Lane thinks. So do you. He looks at the schedule and sees, of our next few games, you always want to win the next game. But really, honestly, the next game is the most difficult opponent, and they can't beat the Ravens without Lane. I can't imagine them being able to beat the Ravens without Lane.
Well,
I wonder if he says, I gut it through the Ravens game, and then we only have 4 days to prepare for the Giants. I don't play that game, and I give myself basically 2 weeks of rest. I don't play the Giants game, and then the following week I'm held out of practice, and then I get back on the field against the Cowboys, which is about 2 weeks from the Ravens game.
I don't know. This one I'd rather, I'd like to give you, I don't want to guess. I'd like to give you intel. I just know on the second opinion what the reasoning was for.
Right. I'm just spitballing how Lane thinks, right?
Right. No, I understand. I know Lane. You and I know Lane, and you're 100% right. Lane is the ultimate tough guy. He plays when he shouldn't play. He loves his teammates. He does the right thing by the club. He's been a great Eagle. It's been, you're talking about not only, depending on who you speak with, it's Mitchell Schwartz or Lane Johnson is the best right tackles, but most people in the league believe that Lane's better, but Mitchell's been more durable. That's the fact. So, you could argue, and my friend Geoff Schwartz probably won't like that, saying that some people think Lane is, but Jeff's a great player anyway. They're both great. I mean, you can take whoever you want.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, Jack Driscoll is, we know before the season started, you first put it out how well he was doing. But what I was told was this, with Jack Driscoll, needs an offseason. He's not strong enough to play inside now at guard. You could get away with him playing on the outside at right tackle because he's so gifted with his hands and he's so smart and he could kind of manipulate his hands a certain way to get through it. But you'd rather not do it. But you don't really have any choices right now because the only thing you could do is put Pryor at right tackle and then put Driscoll inside, or put one of these young kids, Opeta. Who else is up there? Who are the other guys who are up there?
Oh, we got Toth now on the 53.
Well, he can't. No, he's not. No, he can't play right now. But
you've got the
who could play guard? Anyone could play guard?
You said Opeta. Jariga, who plays center.
He's
guard,
a center,
probably more center.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably missing another backup whose name. Oh well, Winalgo is on the practice squad.
He's on practice squad. Yeah, he's definitely not going to be playing. Yeah.
No.
So,
I know all their backups are playing.
No, but right. That's why I asked you, because I can't for the life of me figure out who could do it. And as you astutely pointed out last week, they have 10 linemen on the 53?
On the 53.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. They're in a tough way now. They're definitely they have no depth right now of guys who could play right now. They're pushed against the wall. They need some of these guys just to hang in there and do what they can, but they are where they are with these young players. Opeta technically played in this last game.
Right.
He actually came in.
Oh, Jamon Brown. That's another guy we forgot.
You know what? That to me now. I know we weren't going to get started on the offensive line. We're probably going to start with Wentz, but to me, Jamon Brown right now, and we'll check on it, and I think you and I have probably similar information. Matt Pryor's not playing particularly well.
He's got to get out. He's got to get out.
Yeah, I would go with Jamon Brown. I know that he needed probably 2 or 3 weeks to learn the line scheme and learn a lot. I mean, you don't want to play right away off the street. You need probably a good 3 weeks. Well, we're here in 3 weeks now. So to me, I don't give a crap if he's better one guard position or another. The guy's a veteran. He should be able to play either right or left guard. Right guard right now is a real issue for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ron Jaworski, one of the interesting things he said with us when he was on Inside the Birds TV with us is that as much as it was as fun as it was to watch Carson really connect with Travis Fulgham and get that passing game going, there were too many throws that Carson made from a pocket that was starting to collapse. And when you watch the tape, you can see where a lot of those collapses are. And clearly, and I got to say mea culpa, I know weeks ago I was saying, how could it be that Nate Herbig had surpassed Matt Pryor, and I was blaming the organization for putting Pryor in a bad situation by moving him to left tackle, which is still a bad thing to do.
Yes, that I agree with.
That part is I don't take back.
No, you're right. That's an inarguable point. That cannot be. Yeah, you're 100% right.
Couldn't have helped his confidence any, but clearly Herbig has held his own enough. But Matt Pryor has been more of a liability, and they got to get him out. I agree.
For the Matt Pryor truthers, and I know there are 2 of them out there somewhere. I love that. I love
is
that.
Mr. and Mrs. Pryor.
Right. Look, he's a nice kid, and he's a nice story. What was he, a 6th-round pick?
Yeah,
but
5th round pick, I think.
Okay, whatever he was, 5th or 6th round. But what happened in training camp, and we put it out there. He had a bad training camp. I mean, he just didn't do well. People couldn't understand. He did so well, and our Trey Thomas said that he did really well, and it's true, during the playoffs and the little he played. Even Greg Cosell said that. He was pretty impressed with him. I could just tell you as an absolute fact, he did not have a good training camp. He was their last lineman on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to keep him because of his versatility, and they do like him, but maybe he needed an offseason. You don't want to downgrade the guy too much because he only had 3 weeks of training camp. But the fact of the matter is, folks, it's a fact. He didn't have a good training camp, and that's the truth. And that's kind of why people were questioning us on Twitter, and we addressed it on our show during that time. Our sources told us he just didn't have a good training camp. It's always obvious. Like when a guy who looked like he was going to start or be a key component to their offensive line is not getting in when everyone else is, they're telling you why. You don't need to ask us. They're telling you why. They don't think he's good enough.
I wonder if he's in danger. Because again, they shouldn't be carrying 9 or 10 offensive linemen on the 53 all year. Peters is going to come back. Seumalo is eventually going to come back. When both of those guys come back, they're probably going to play. They may move Peters inside and keep Mailata there. So you already have.
Yeah, this is an educated guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's only been one game, and we'll get in the offensive line in a couple minutes. But just to finish that off, and then we're going to go back to the quarter Wentz, because you and I have a lot on Wentz here.
Yeah.
I do believe it's going to be Peters at playing right guard and Mailata. We're not reporting this. It's just informed speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Mailata did so well considering where he's at in his career, and he never played football in his life, up to 3 years ago, to hold his own against the best front in the national football, best front seven. That's not me saying it. That's other people in the National Football League telling me this. That he did a hell of a job considering, and there's really now this is a different D line. We'll get more into the Baltimore D line. They're more stout. They're not as athletic or talented as the Steelers, but they're a different off defensive line. But if Mailata keeps this up, I mean, there's no decision to be made. He's the left tackle the rest of the season.
And again, if you've got Peters at guard and you've got Sayamalo at guard, well, now your backup guards are Herbig and Jamon Brown. So where is Matt Pryor? You're going to continue to keep Matt Pryor. Your backup tackle is Jack Driscoll. So, I mean, do you just keep Matt Pryor to be another? I don't know. I mean, it'd be very interesting. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries on the offensive line, but again, they're going to get to a point like when you have to activate Curry and you have to activate Parks, right, and make corresponding moves that you've got to downside. You've got to make other corresponding moves, and you just wonder if Matt Pryor is going to see the end of this season. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm just saying I wonder what his future is when everybody starts to
right, because Geoff, they're going to have to. The receiver position is probably the easiest one to cut guys. You and I can do it in 30 seconds. Of the 8, once Rager comes back, this guy, and this guy, you move on. That's like I could do with my eyes closed. The big challenge is the backup lineman, and you know how they value linemen. And Pryor did put good tape together last year. He was kind of a surprise. You could say what you want about the competition, but he did a really good job considering. But he had this drop off, and sometimes Eagles aren't very patient.
Right. And I do have a thought on that, and that'll apply to a different position of why someone can play well and then all of a sudden not. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Real quick, the Eagles did waive Graylin Arnold and Casey Toohill. Not a big surprise there. They protected Jason Kroom and Elijah Riley on the practice squad. Both of those guys were elevated last week.
And by the way, listen to Greg Cosell. Folks, if you've not watched our pregame show, and out of the blue, and I'm so glad Greg jumped in, he had a scouting report on Jason Kroom. I couldn't believe it. I did know a little bit of the athleticism part, but he broke down his college tape and what he saw last year. I'm like, talk about the price of admission. I didn't know this was coming because we didn't talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man, from Greg.
Yeah, you got to watch Inside the Birds pregame live before every football game on Sunday. All right, so real quick, we've been telling you for a long time, please do it. Go to phlsportsnation.com and check out their coverage of the Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Eagles, the Union. They cover all 4 Philly teams like nobody else, enhancing the fan experience with their great content, also great podcasts. Check them out on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation is their Twitter handle. And we'll pause real quick for another word for a great sponsor. All right, let's talk about the Eagles offense. Let's start with Carson Wentz. I think the most fascinating, tape breakdown that we got, not necessarily from, anonymous sources, but what Jaws said on ITB TV, Adam. I mean, he really said, I'm not giving Carson a free pass. He's getting better, but he's still leaving passes out there on the field to be made. Mechanics are still an issue. And there was one other thing he meant. Oh, the seeing the field clearly. He's finding plays also that are there to be made, touchdowns that are there that Carson's not seeing.
As well as he played, and that was by far his best game of the year. He had a couple Carson Wentz 2017 throws, as I call them.
Mm-hmm.
The pass, so many passes were right on the money to Fulgham. And it's just remarkable, as I asked Jaws on that show, how do you develop chemistry like this so quickly? It's amazing to me. But there was a throw that Carson – okay, here's what I was told. I don't know if it's the same info that Jaws gave us on our ITB TV, but I was told a throw that Carson was throwing to somebody else, but Fulgham put a double move on, and it would have been a touchdown. Now, it's not his fault because he was on one – whatever his progression was, he was on maybe whether it was the middle or the right, I can't remember. But the person who told me that, it was an incredible move by Fulgham. This is just, it's one of these situations where you shake your head when you're hearing this. You're like, how could Fulgham be this good? Like, what were the Lions and Packers thinking? But you never know because we weren't there. Maybe he didn't show anything with those teams. But here, they're not even scoring 14 points without this kid. And they don't win the game against the Niners. It's just one of these things that you can't even believe, but it's happened. And Wentz has got a go-to guy now. And I'll tell you what, man, Fulgham will continue to start when Alshon comes back. There's no doubt. There's no argument there. The kid is the reason why I say that, and the reason why it's real with Fulgham. It's because his route running's fantastic. He's not great, but he's good. Best hands on the team. It sounds absurd for me to say at receiver. He's got the best hands on the team already. He's got great hands. Not only does he have great hands, he has
wingspan.
Wingspan, yes, great point. And he also has giant hands, but they're like 33. I'm not the arms. I'm sorry. The arms are 33 plus. Mm-hmm. Josh Sweat is like 34 and a half, just to give context, I think.
Right.
So that's crazy long. And he has good enough suddenness, and he catches it the Chris Carter way with the palms up, mm-hmm. which is the way you're supposed to catch it. I don't know what to tell you. This is ridiculous what he's doing. And here's another part. Here's another little coaching point. A quarterback point. Quarterbacks have told me over the years that there's such a trust level. When you do this, okay, when you keep throwing to this guy and not Zach Ertz, that tells you how much he trusts this kid. And what we reported first back in during August, and also particularly when the media couldn't see it during week 1, 2, 3, and 4, is he was kicking ass in practice. He never let up. Mm-hmm. That is why he is on the field right now.
Well, thank God for the Eagles that he is. I'll give you an interesting stat. It's an addendum to a stat. You remember last podcast I told you that since Carson's rookie year, since the start of 2016, that Fulgham's 153 yards were the second most by an Eagles receiver in a game, right, to Alshon Jeffrey. Well, guess what? Alshon Jeffrey had 160 yards against the Rams in 2018, but who was the quarterback in that game? Nick Foles.
Yeah,
this funny. Was the end. So Fulgham's 153 yards, Adam, are the most yards by any wide receiver playing alongside Carson Wentz.
It's amazing.
Since he entered the league.
Again,
isn't that not amazing?
It's good for the Eagles, and it's just unfathomable that a kid who didn't grow up with football like most kids, played some basketball, did play later in his athletic career football, and he's so natural. I mean, he's just so natural, and he's lanky and long and hands and route running and urgency that maybe he didn't have elsewhere. I mean, the Eagles are now 0-4-1 without him. I mean, they would not have a win with him.
No, they wouldn't. Let's talk about Miles Sanders, because he had a very electrifying run. And by the way, sometimes you get great blocking, right? And sometimes you make a lot of the yards yourself. When I watched that play of his 74-yard touchdown run, he got some really good blocking downfield, ironically, by J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. But at the line of scrimmage, he made a move to evade a tackle from the safety or the corner. That was just sick. I mean, he basically, you know, how the way Brandon Ayuk hurdled Marcus Epps last week with the Niners. He made a really sweet move, and then so they have this stat now about like expected yards per pass or expected yards per run. Well, he made a lot of unexpected yards on that run because he could have been tackled at about maybe after 2 or 3 yards.
The scouting term is making unblocked defenders miss. You have to do that to be great, to be elite like he is. You have to do it, and he did it. Here's Mike. It's funny you mentioned this because I get these quotes from Mike on Tuesday. Mike Tomlin has his press conference, and here's the quote on that play. The big play pop by Miles, man, you have to first give kudos to him. But, man, they're in the draw in the third and 10 into the deep of a blitz, and we had unblocked people at the point of attack. We just have to kind of make those plays. So that's the thing, as you just said, they had the Steelers had numbers.
Right.
But Miles, because of his special ability, should have been tackled, but he made the guy miss, and that was it. And he's so explosive, man. It was pretty incredible.
Also, a great play call because you're right. The Steelers blitzed on that play, and that actually helped. See, I don't know what Doug's thought process was. It was 3rd and 9, I think. Maybe either 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10. I thought at the time that he was just trying to pick up a few yards and punt and play it safe. But he did probably expect that the Steelers were blitzing, and they blitzed one way, and the direction of the run was the other way. So it did set up the fact that all Miles would have to do is make one guy miss, as opposed to some runs when you have a few guys converging on you at the second level. but the move he put on to make the guy miss was unbelievable. And the NFL puts out its next gen stats.
Yeah, I got those. Yeah.
So did you see the one on that touchdown run?
They sent it to me on Tuesday, but I get it. I get like a summary, and I didn't look at it. But what
I'll
did
read
it say?
It said that his 74-yard touchdown run was his fourth carry where he gained at least 30 yards over expectation since the start of 2018, since last year, right? The Eagles only have four runs where they get more than 30 yards over expectation, and he's got all of them in the last 2 years. And the 70 yards over expectation, so that which basically says it should have been a 4-yard gain.
Yep.
The 70 yards over expectation was the second most on a single run this year.
Wow.
And his 20.21 miles per hour was the 9th fastest speed.
How many? What was miles per hour?
Carry. He ran 20.21 miles per hour.
Okay.
The 9th fastest speed for a ball carry.
But here's the problem with that. If you look at the rest of his runs, I mean, you're talking about just over 1 yard per carry.
Yeah.
Which plays to a point, man, their offensive line could not block for the life of them the run game.
It was bad.
Wasn't it?
It was bad. Yeah, I tweeted out a picture of a specific inside zone run that probably Miles would have made positive yardage out of, but Matt Pryor got beat by a really bad spin. I mean, he got beaten badly by a good swim move by Stephon Tuitt. So by the time Sanders got the ball at the mesh point, he was already cutting back to the left side where you had an unblocked defender because the run was designed to go to the right side and let that unblocked defender come through, and he had to run smack dab into the outside linebacker on the other side and lost yards. But so that's not on Miles Sanders. That just showed you how difficult the Eagles were in trying to create lanes for him.
Yeah, what I was told was that his lack of yards had nothing to do with him. It was all the interior, not all, but mostly the interior of the O-line.
Right.
This is
doesn't bode well for when you have to play the Ravens.
No,
they're
they're thick. They're more stout. They're not. Yes, they run a 34, but they're a little bit more multiple with their fronts and looks. The Steelers are different based on what I was told, but what I would tell you is it's going to be a struggle. We're going to talk about this on Friday's show, but they're going to have to figure it. I would go with Jamon Brown, honestly, right now. I would just make the move. I'm glad you brought him up earlier because I would do it without even thinking about it. He's a better football player. I don't quite understand. I know that Doug's been on continuity and so is Jeff Stoutland, but you know what? Sometimes you got to use the better football player. Right. We know who that is.
So someone once told me when I delivered that scouting report that I got from an NFC North guy, I believe, on Jamon Brown, is that he's a good athlete. He's not a very good technician, but he's a good athlete, right?
All right.
And
oh boy, they could use that.
Yeah, a lot of times a guy like that, he's not going to push a ton of people back and create these opening lanes, but he's going to stalemate, which means that at the line of scrimmage, he's not going to give up penetration. He may not get the push you're looking for, but he's not going to let that player get into the backfield and push him back and collapse it. And that's kind of what Nate Herbig, I think, is fairly good at. Nate Herbig doesn't generate a lot of push, but he doesn't get pushed back a whole lot and disrupt your runs and disrupt the function of your offense. And that's why I think you got to get Jamon in there. You just need more stability, and you need to give your running back a chance. You know, if there's a stalemate, at least you can get skinny and run past him. If he's on top of you at the mesh point, that's a problem.
Yeah, I would say that Herbig, from what I understand, looks right now that he certainly has proven that he could be a good quality third guard. Mm-hmm. Now, what does that mean? Is he a starter? No, that means if he needs to start for a couple games, he's serviceable. You just want a guy like Herbig, who's an undrafted free agent, just be serviceable. Don't hurt the football team. He's not hurting the team right now.
You want him to be what Steph Wisniewski was in 2017. Now, Steph actually had some – because he's a veteran, right? He had some good moments. I still remember that screen where he took out two blockers on one try. But the bottom line is he's been a veteran backup because he can be stable. He's not going to win the game for you, but he ain't going to lose the game for you. And that's what you're hoping Nate Herbig can continue to be. Mailata played decently, it looked.
Yeah, I was told that, it's funny. I asked someone from another team that there's this guy who's just getting started in the Eagles because his team might be, I have to look at the schedule. I don't know if it's 10, 11, or 12. But anyway, he wasn't really familiar with him. He knows the story. And I said, hey, do me a favor. Could you do it like this? Give me what you saw from tape study. and then look at him as a guy that's never played football before. And he goes, you know what? If he was a fifth-year veteran, there's some issues with his hands and technique where you go, man, he should be better in that area by now. Because if you told me he never played football in his life, he said it's a B plus, A minus. But he goes, there's certain issues where there were some issues with hands and footwork and getting edged a little bit in the run game. But overall, core strength, footwork. He was not on his butt very much, if at all, which is a thing that scouts or personnel people look for. I really thought, I'll be honest, I got it wrong. I thought he'd fail this game, to be honest with you. I thought he'd be in trouble. But I know they want to get an evaluation of him. I mean, the fact that someone aced his test against arguably the NFL's best front seven and defense. Not that this game against the Ravens will be equally as tough in a different way, probably. But that's got to give him such great confidence and give Jeff Stoutland and Doug Peterson tremendous confidence here. That is huge that he was able to hold his own for the most part. This is surprising to me. This phenomenon, people, it's funny. So many fans wanted them to cut him because they were sick of his back stuff. You got to see things through. The Eagles have a history of cutting guys very early. Sometimes not. I'm not talking about LJ Ford. I'm talking about younger players. You know who Ryan Neal is? You probably don't even remember him. You know Ryan Neal?
Ryan Neal. I feel like he was a linebacker. No?
Nope. He was a DB the Eagles had for 2 days last year.
Oh.
He's now starting for the Seahawks in the secondary. He played every bleeping snap either last week or 2 weeks ago.
Really?
And I don't care what the reasoning is that maybe the Seahawks have some injuries. They do. But you got to let guys develop. They lucked into Fulgham, and I give them credit. Peterson said on WIP that they had a third or fourth rank grade on Fulgham. That's unbelievable. Whoever put that together, that's pretty damn good grade. But they need to let guys develop. That's my pet peeve with sometimes. And I know all teams do this. Everyone does it. Every team cuts guys before they should. But Anthony Rush, they cut early. They got lucky that they were able to get him back. Ryan Neal's another guy that I never even heard of him until I started looking at box scores. I'm like, who is R. Neal? I thought he was a fullback because there was a fullback here years ago. But anyway.
Well, I'll give you another name, a guy who I think he took some licks here, but he's playing well. I think he's starting is Chandon Sullivan for the
Chandon Sullivan. Yeah, Chandon Sullivan. Right. With he's played a lot. He's either a fifth DB for the Packers or he's been starting. But that's a great point. Just let these guys play through. If you liked him enough to sign him, could you let him play himself off the roster at least?
Right. And if they have a bad game, can they learn from that? Do you have to cut them because they had a bad, 2 or 3 games when you just threw them in there?
Or a couple like or what I'm saying is if you cut the guy after 2 or 3 days in training camp, like did you really give him a shot?
Right. They're gonna rue the day they got rid of River Craycraft. I'm telling you.
That name, it's funny because I never knew how to say it. He was with Denver for a year or two on the practice squad, and I remember when he came in. It's like one of my favorite names. But the guy's never. I don't know that he's ever even played in the game. But that's just funny you brought him up. I love the scrubs. You know that.
Yeah, me too. One thing I want our listeners to really pay attention to. Trey Thomas said it on our pregame show, and I saw examples of it with Jordan Mailata on Sunday. He still has he's got to get the technique with the double underhand hooks under control. I saw a couple of instances where the pass rusher, Dupree, would just get his hands right into Mailata's chest and be able to drive him back. Mailata should not be a guy who you can drive back. He's 350 yards. But when you lose your leverage because somebody's got their hands into you while you're taking a vertical set, they're going to be able to push you into the quarterback. And there were a couple of times where you see it. It looks like he's catching the hands of the pass rusher instead of punching. He's got to get that punch down pat.
Right, and Trey did a great job of talking about that. In fact, when Trey did ITV TV, he said that's a Stoutland technique, the way that's taught. So, yeah, look, but the great thing about Mailata starting now they have the tape. They finally have a start, not just him coming off the bench in relief. They now have a start under his belt, and all they need to do is just break down the tape, and that's all they have to do.
Not much on pass catchers, Adam. I mean, we already talked about Fulgham, Hightower. I don't want to beat to death the fact that he didn't catch the ball in the end zone, and there was a play where I guess Carson kind of missed him. That might have been a touchdown. Although it's like he sprawled out, but it's almost like he didn't sprawl out in the direction where the ball was landing. So I don't know if he's the best deep tracker of the football. That's something that we're going to have to find out. I do remember, maybe it was you or it's been so long that one of the knocks on him in college was hands weren't always perfect. Like he could drop a few balls. So we've seen that now a couple of times. But he does stretch the field. So they got to keep working with him. Aaron Moorhead's they're really a hair off, right? I mean, there have been some connections there that can be made.
Yeah, Hightower really is not ready for prime time. If you had your druthers, he'd be their fifth receiver or probably not dressing. But he has to play until Jeffrey and Jackson come back. They're kind of where they're at. Look, he should have – I know it was a tough ball, great throw by Wentz, but I know, it bombed back of the end zone, tough moment. You want him to catch it. You got to get – the thing that bothers me is you got to get your hands on it, man. You got to get your hands on it, right?
Yes. You got to get your hand – well, yeah, absolutely. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
All right. Ertz is someone that we talked about on Monday.
But just one thing.
Yeah.
Greg Ward does it every game. He gets open in a short area.
Area.
Yeah, he's a excellent route runner, but folks, he doesn't run that well. That's why his depth per route is so short. He's the same guy every game. Like you talk to anyone who grades the tape, they'll say, "Oh, it's just Greg Ward. He gets open." But you're not going to ask him to run past 7 or 8 yards.
I love it. Somebody tweeted either you or me or both of us a picture of Greg Ward getting separation and catching a touchdown, which was a short touchdown,
right?
And questioned why we're saying he can't separate.
We never said that.
Like, they're not listening. You said he's not a deep separator. He's not going to separate at the top of a route 20 yards down the field.
People hear what they want to hear, and then I love when they find these fans who would do film breakdowns. And I don't respond to any of it. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
People have a narrative in their mind and they don't think for themselves. And they won't even go. There was some guy who said we made up the stuff that we supposedly said on our show on The Fanatic. Totally not what we said. But again.
Yeah, I'll address that a little bit.
Yeah, you love to get an idea. About. I know what I said, and I didn't say anything like what the guy said. So
no, we've been saying for a couple of weeks, more than that. Well, that Ward has good hands and has very good short area quickness. That's a thing. People are, what does that mean, short area quickness? You're either quick or you're not quick. No, it's just like you can have great straight line speed, but not be a great route runner or not have great bend and flexibility and be able to catch balls in the air. You're just fast. It doesn't mean you're a good. By the way, I don't want to get too far ahead, but Nate Gary is an example. You keep hearing people saying he's the slow white linebacker, and he's not slow. He was a track star in high school. He set records. It's not about his speed. It's about your instincts. It's about your reading of the offense. It's about your technique. It's about your positioning. Nate Gary can run. He's just not. He's doing other things wrong. It's a lazy excuse to say, well, he's a slow white linebacker. I hate that.
Let me give an example. So I said last year what I'd heard with Ronald Darby. He has slow eyes. He ran a 4.29 or 4.3, whatever the hell he ran at the combine.
Right.
But when you don't trust your eyes or you have slow eyes, it makes you way slower than you really are. People are saying, oh, he doesn't look like the same player physically. No, you're wrong. He doesn't have good enough eyes. It makes a guy who's fast look slow. That's what happened. So with Greg Ward, as we fast forward this, Greg Ward has got very good short area quickness, but he's not fast at all. That is why he's a slot receiver who cannot get downfield. I mean, this is stuff that anyone who works in the NFL knows because the people have told me this. And I would watch tape last year. I'm like, wow, but I want to give him one thumbs up. The dude gets open because he's a good route runner.
He is smart, and I think playing quarterback probably helped that.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's where I was going to go. It absolutely helps.
Yeah. All right. So Ertz, real quick on Ertz. Do you have a breakdown that can explain why he's not performing to normal Ertzian level?
Well, some of the stuff is on Carson. He's missed him either open for at least one touchdown. I got confirmed for sure, 100%, because two people told me the same story, and another one I'm told, and he sailed a bunch of passes to him earlier. Now, does that excuse still the low numbers? No. He also did not get open enough against the Niners. That's a fact.
Right.
The tape doesn't lie. Like when people know who also play the National Football League from other teams say to me, Hey, that 80, because they always go by number, 86 did not get open that game. I said, did they double team him? No. He goes, he didn't get open against the Niners enough. So it's a combination of inaccuracy by Wentz, which is confirmed by you and I have the same information. Zach not getting open enough sometimes. And this last game, look, the one thing I didn't ask Jaws in this show is I know what Jaws has told me over the years. You throw the guys who continually get open. Greg Ward has gotten open. He don't run very well, but short area sure does. Gets open. Zach needs to continue to get open. Yeah, you can't excuse the bad passes by Wentz, the inaccurate passes, but he's got to get open consistently. He's not gotten open as much as you would think.
All right. You hope that it's just a little bit of stretch, like Carson Wentz kind of had a funk. Maybe Zach will snap out of it a little bit and figure it out. His track record says, he will.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll move on to defense first, guys. We've been telling you about Manscaped and their great deals at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping off Manscaped products if you use that promo code ITB. I highly recommend you do it. And as I've said before, it's not just about ball hair trimmers. They have nose hair trimmers, ear hair trimmers. They got stuff for the modern man and for the caveman. So if you don't like the grooming below the belt, there's plenty above the belt to get into. And for our listeners, supporting ITB advertisers is supporting Inside the Birds itself. So if you really are a big fan of what we're doing here at Inside the Birds, it definitely helps us out to support our business partners as well. So you might be surprised. Just go to manscaped.com. You will probably find something that you could really use. And for 20% off and free shipping, that's a hard deal to pass.
Great deal.
It's not going to be around forever.
No.
Let's get into the Eagles' defense. We'll start with the defensive line. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. Because when we talked about it a little bit, you're kind of wondering about the pass rush, and my impression from watching was that there wasn't. A, they did get to Roethlisberger at times, and B, when a guy is going to throw the ball immediately because he knows exactly where he's going to go, it's hard for the pass rush to really do anything about that.
Yeah, so my understanding is that they got a lot of pressure. A lot, okay. I don't know the pressure percentage. They got pressure on him.
Yes.
I mean, that they got to him. But the problem is that he knew, like you just said, he kind of knew where the rush was coming from because the Eagles are not a heavy blitz team. They're one of the lowest. They play a scheme that everybody's figured out. If the front four does not get home and make the quarterback get rid of the football, they're going to give up 30 points or more. That's just a fact. That's what I said on our Friday show. I said the Eagles are in trouble in this game because though I thought the Eagles had a couple advantages in this game coming in because of Matt Filer and the kid Okafor, whatever his name is. Okorafor, yes. Chukwuma Okorafor, right, correct.
There you go.
I don't know how I got it right without looking, but they just didn't win. They didn't win enough, and Ben knew what was coming, and he got rid of the football. In fact, they rolled out too. But they did hit him. That's the funny thing about that game. They did hit him, but Ben is too smart and 37, 38 years old. He's savvy, and Randy Fichtner had him on a bunch of 3-step drops, some 5. Right. With Deontay Johnson out, that did hurt them a little bit, but that's where Chase Claypool came in, who absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah, I think that there's almost now an unfair expectation. The defensive line is really good, but the way that the defense is set up and the lack of talent in the back end. I mean, there's talent like in Darius Slay, but you know what I'm talking about, linebacker.
Yeah, sure.
Certain safety spots. It forces the D line to literally have to win every rep. And that's not fair, as you're mentioning, because sometimes the quarterback's only going to take a 3-step drop and deliver. And it's how do you win on that situation? And then sometimes you're just going to go you're not going to win the matchup. Right. I mean, the Steelers have 3 Pro Bowlers on their offensive line? DeCastro, Pouncey, and Villanueva, I believe, have all made the Pro Bowl.
Although Villanueva is a guy that teams can beat, there's certain things you can do with him. He's not.
Sure.
He's a nice player. I mean, it's been an unbelievable
story. The point is it's a good offensive line.
Yes, it is. It's solid. Yeah, it's solid. But anyway, Schwartz is going to have to change things up against teams like this. And I for Christ's sake, I don't know what they're going to do against Baltimore.
Well, I'll give you an example of something I saw, which shows you how powerless they are, right? It was on the Steelers' first touchdown drive. It's the one that ended with Claypool's, I think, end around for a touchdown, okay? There was a 3rd and 9. and Schwartz was going to blitz. And here's where we get critical because the linebackers are in the A gaps immediately. So Schwartz is basically saying, we're coming at you. All right, 3rd and 9, we're coming at you. So Ben sees this, and he also notices he's got was it Claypool? One of his receivers. It wasn't Juju. I think it was Claypool at the top of the screen. No, Washington. That's what. Washington on Jalen Mills. Okay, Mills is playing 10 yards off. So you're Ben Roethlisberger. You know everybody's coming, which means you got nice one-on-one matchups on the outside. And then on the outside, you see that Jalen Mills is given 10 yards of cushion to James Washington. So the route is a crossing route, Adam. It's a cross from left to right. Ben does the smart thing. He takes like a 3-step back pedal, right, because he knows the pressure's coming, and he gets a little bit hit. But by the time he hits Washington across the middle, Washington's got plenty of room because it was a blitz, and Jalen Mills is just not fast enough to keep up.
Exactly.
Especially when he's playing 10 yards off.
This is the thing that I don't know Jim Schwartz. I just don't quite understand the thought process. Everybody knows that Jalen Mills doesn't run very well. He's handsy. He's got to get it's like with Rasul Douglas. Press these guys. Don't let them get free access or do something to disrupt their timing.
Right.
It's like because basically what Schwartz is saying, I'm backing these guys off. I don't trust them. Our D-line has to win. If we don't win, we lose. That's what he's saying I don't need to talk to the guy. I'm telling you what he's doing. It's obvious.
Right. And here's where I say it's such a marriage between scheme and personnel. Like if you want me to play Jim Schwartz here and say, if I press Jalen Mills up against Washington, what Ben's going to do is change the play, and he's going to have Washington run a fly route. And when these guys come blitzing at me, I'm just going to throw the ball up and watch James Washington beat
James Washington's a nice player. He's not a burner. I mean, he can run, but he's not a burner.
But anybody can beat Jalen Mills down the field.
I understand, but Jalen Mills can't win unless he gets his hands on you.
You know, that's a good point. And by the way, you're right, because let's say that happens and you have Mills pressing. Maybe he knocks him off the route, or it's a lower percentage pass because now he's got to throw the ball up.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
This thing was so easy. It was pitch and catch. It was just a crossing route.
Right, and that's what I want to talk about here before we move on to the next position. Mm-hmm. The issue is this. Once you start seeing that you're getting beat repeatedly left and right, what are you doing to stem the tide? The answer is nothing.
Right.
Like I know that he tried different things, but you got to know what a player is and isn't. Mills can't run. I know he's smart. I know he's tough. I get all that. He's tough. That's great. But he doesn't run very well. And you got nowhere else to go. You have no one else who can play outside corner. You can't do it.
No.
So use what he has, his length, and slow this guy's down. Now, some people might say, oh, they can't play press man against them. Well, what did you do to slow this team down? Nothing. Right. I don't know what the plan was of this game.
I don't either.
D-line, no, but again,
try to escape with a win.
but again, once you see your D-line they're getting home, but they're not disrupting the timing of the quarterback. Try something else.
Well, that's the point, right? Once you see that the offense that you're going up against is not going to take deep shots because they respect your pass rush and they're going to go short, then don't you move your corners up a little bit and press? Because now you have to
disrupt them right.
Now Ben's got to throw it to a guy who get knocked out of his route.
I mean, I may not be very smart, but I do watch football and I talk to people, and I would think like if you quizzed or queried 100 people, they probably 75% of them probably would say that, because you're kind of out of luck. Your slot corners are not playing well. Maddox is hurt. The slot corner position has been disappointment so far. They're getting destroyed on in-breaking routes. That's the new way to beat the Eagles. Just throw it inside. Guarantee the linebackers won't be able to cover it.
Yeah,
and the guys don't run well enough to cover. It's just this is why I said on our Monday morning show that if their O-line doesn't win, they don't win. I mean, I don't know how they can win without the D-line creating a negative play. They have to create negative plays, or just they have no chance.
You're absolutely right. I'm glad you mentioned the linebackers. So Jaworski confirmed what I thought was correct. Right on Monday, I said I had read somewhere that quarterbacks are 24 for 24 when targeting Nate Gary.
That's from PFF. It's from PFF.
That's so unbelievable. 24 for 24. They didn't even accidentally throw the ball. Like a quarterback didn't even have a bad throw, right? Like they got Nate Gary every single time they targeted him on 24 attempts. That is so hard to believe, to digest, to understand. But it goes back to this, Adam, for me, right? We talked about Matt Pryor. How is it Matt Pryor could have been a good player when he had to start against the Seahawks, or at least functional, and now be so lousy, right? Right? And you look at Nate Gary, and the one thing to remember about the Eagles linebackers last year is that Nate Gary was a situational linebacker. They started the year off with Nigel Bradham and Camus Grugier-Hill. Those were their two linebackers. And then when they wanted a third linebacker, Gary would come in, and then later in the year, Edwards would get a little bit of run. Gary is a situational linebacker. But now you're putting him into a situation where he's playing he's your down linebacker.
Geoff, he played all 75. There are only two players who played all snaps.
Right.
Gary and McLeod did. I mean, this is just.
So, yeah, you can pile on Gary all you want, but he's clearly, the job of a coach is to put a player in position to succeed. He's not in a position to succeed. He's not good enough to be a three-down linebacker.
And I know people are beating up Nate Gary. Folks, it's not his fault.
It's not, yeah. I mean, he could play better, but
I made a comment on the Fanatic on Monday. I said, the linebacker play has been terrible. I mean, it's a fact. I felt bad. It's not his fault. He shouldn't be out there. He should be a sub-package player.
Right.
If at best, they don't have a starting linebacker on the roster. They don't have one.
Imagine that. They do not have a starting player at a position where you're putting at least two and sometimes three players on the field.
Listen to what Ron Jaworski said on our ITB TV. We've given you a nice Cliff Notes version. There's a lot we're not telling you. Listen to it. He talks about the linebackers. It's eye-opening. This should not be happening. Like, I understand the COVID offseason. I understand the challenges. But I get the workout lists of every team. And when it's just that, and I understand, as someone else with another team told me when I laughed when he said, he goes, dude, do you understand? If there were coverage linebackers out there, we would have them. So Philly, who's got a worse problem we do, they would have them. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Right.
Okay, so the only way you're going to get one is by trade. He goes, yes, obviously. And he goes, who the hell would trade anybody coverage linebacker? I'm like, well, I said, hey, Philly traded Duke Riley, and I guess he could play in coverage, but anyway.
He's been exposed too, by the way.
I love getting yelled. By the way, I love getting yelled at by NFL people. I get it. I take it like a man. You should hear. It's really funny. I know these guys, so we F with each other.
Yeah.
He goes, dude. He goes, you know what you're saying? and I go, yeah, but I thought I wasn't trying to be a fan, but I was like, dude, can't they get somebody? Because our listeners are killing us with this shit.
Well, my favorite question is from fans, and I'm not trying to knock people. I would probably be asking the same thing too. Can't they just get Gary off the field and put somebody else in? And I keep saying, who?
No, right? They don't have anybody.
You want Sean Bradley in? He's played the run nicely, but I mean, he can't. He's not a super.
Oh, Sean Bradley.
Yeah. And Davion Taylor, we've told people about for months and months and months and months. I mean, the guy that's an example of a guy who has speed, but that doesn't mean he can play right now. He's got to have the instincts and the smarts.
I don't really have nothing else to say other than linebacker except this. The Eagles are a nickel team. That's what they are. They'll always be nickel. They'll never change as long as Jim Schwartz is here. Very little dime. Gary and Riley, right now, those are their nickel linebackers. Riley was much better with the Falcons than he is here. I don't know what – I mean, I know what happened with the Falcons. He had one good year, and then he regressed significantly, and they made him a backup, and they felt it wasn't going to work out for him, so they got rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Here, he did some good things last year in limited playing time, particularly on special teams, but he's been exposed. And this is not that bad linebacker play is going to make you lose every week, but they can't cover it up anymore, Geoff. That was my – wrong thinking. I thought they'd be able to get away with it. I was way off on that one. I admit I'll take one for the team. I got that one wrong.
Yeah, well, there's just too many offenses now that are evolving with misdirection and motion and athletic offensive linemen who are pulling into the second level to look. You can still make linebacker not your most important position, but you can't destroy it. You can devalue it, but you cannot destroy it. And what they've done is destroy the position.
We're going to have to get another lesson from Joe Banner, because we need to get him on it, because he was like, some fans went. It's funny, they love when Joe's on with it. They're blown away. They actually a couple of our listeners said that they have a completely different view about him because he's been on with us and he's been so insightful and that's great. But because he gets blamed for the devaluing of linebackers, and I know he explained it in our May show with him. Maybe I have to go back and listen.
Look, Andy Reid is also a big proponent of that. Andy Reid was a guy who did not want to put, he would at least draft a few in the second or third or fourth round. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, but he did at the end of his career. He was floating between the Omar Gaithers and the Jamar Chaneys.
Oh
and the
my
Chris
God!
Cole
Yeah.
And the Akeem,
who was the kid? Who was a super small? Greg. Well, Greg Lloyd's son was drafted by the Eagles in the 7th round. Greg Lloyd Jr. No,
Greg
there was
Richmond.
I'm sorry.
You're not thinking of Greg Richmond.
No.
Okay. He was a linebacker.
The guy. He was a 6th round pick. I think he also went to the Steelers after the Eagles. Unbelievably small.
I know who you're talking about. If you're talking about the short player, you might be talking about Brian Roll.
That's it. Thank you. Yes, you got it. Good job. Yes.
From Ohio State. Yeah. But so Andy's got to take a little of the blame too. I know he did have personnel power at that time, and he was bringing in.
He had control. He had control to the day he was fired. Moses Foco. Oh yeah, another guy. Moses. Yeah. It's just. Yeah. Anyway, we digress.
Some of those guys could actually play for they could hold it down. Chris Gokong was a starter on playoff teams. He was a 3rd round pick. These guys can't hold it down. Right, they've destroyed the position.
You're making me laugh I love these names, and I know our listeners do. I get a chuckle out of these scrubs. Like the best of all time is Michael Gasperson. No one will ever beat that because of the name. It's such an odd name.
Gasperson, yeah,
right.
He was special.
He was another Brian Finner and my man B Finner, and I love Brian. Brian and I have never met, but we've kind of talked over Twitter. Maybe I did meet him. I don't know, but anyway, to move this along here. So that's the linebackers, folks. You could cry all you want and complain. You're preach to the jury. We have to deal with this shit every week. Just talking about it. I feel bad for these players. It's not their fault. What can we do? I don't know what else to tell you.
Might I remind you? I'm not trying to play the "I told you so" card, but we would do shows in June, right, previewing the team, and I would say, "All right, now we got to talk about linebacker." Right? Remember, I would say, let's get into linebacker, because you just knew. You knew that this year was different than the others, that they had absolutely put zero resources other than signing Jatavis Brown.
That's it. They should have signed a couple veterans, and especially after Brown retired suddenly out of the blue.
Yep.
Because no offseason, no training camp. Now, I know some teams told me that. They thought the problem was that if they were not here in training camp, or they were not familiar with their scheme, they didn't have a normal offseason to bring them in so they could have 30 offseason practices. They were like, you know what, we're just going to go with the guys that we have. And I get that thought process, but they're just these linebackers are costing them. I didn't quite understand it, but I sure as hell do now. And I don't know how you get these guys better. They are what they are. They're all backups. They're playing, and as I said a couple weeks ago before we moved to DBs here, sooner or later it's going to cost them. These teams are going to go after them. My God, they went after him week 1 and 2 against the Rams, but now it's the receivers are killing them. They're just running in breakers. The OCs from the other teams are like, okay, let's get him on this guy. Boom, that's what we do. We're going to get him on that guy.
Right. Well, all right, let's move on to the secondary. Yeah. I wasn't surprised to see Jalen Mills struggle on the outside against receivers. We've seen that for quite a while. I was a little surprised to see Darius Slay. I know he plays physical, and we can question the legitimacy of one of that calls. But he also he was playing some off coverage and gave up some receptions. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I'm told that he did not play well. He didn't play badly, but he didn't play at the excellent level that they need. He had at least 4 to 6 plays he'd like to have back.
Right.
Mills,
and he's been good all year.
That was a very well. The trade has been what they thought it would be. Just not going to be great every week. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't at the level they needed him to be because they were so weak at corner opposite him. The nickel guys are a problem. I don't know what to tell you. In my notes, they have not had a good grade from the other teams that have played the Eagles yet. The nickels, they just have not.
Yeah,
this is a bad game for the entire secondary. Rodney did not play as well. He played. I mean, I don't know even how you characterize this. He just did not play well.
That's another guy who's actually played fairly well for the first part of the season.
The entire secondary was I mean, I don't want to say atrocious. That's a little bit strong, but they just had a bad game. They had a game they're not proud of. They had some good moments, but overall it was poor. The nickels from the tape stuff that I got from a couple people, they're getting handled physically, false steps. They're just not consistent. Roby Coleman's a good player. He's not played up to the level they were expecting. And Strap is having to play. Crevon LeBlanc, very inconsistent. But when they had everybody this season, including Maddox, he probably would only play a corner, maybe 10 to 12 snaps, maybe 15. He had to play 30 in this game. When you take low-end players and you raise them up, most of the time they play like low-end players or lower-end players.
That's correct.
I know he's a smart guy, and I know he's done a great job before the season, but he's having to have a different role now. He's just not playing at that super level that they wanted him to play like he did before. Pretty solid level, I should say super, but pretty solid. Right. And this is what happens.
Indeed, it happens, and that's why the team is 1-3-1 here going into this game against Baltimore. All right, so that'll wrap up our tape breakdown. I want to remind everybody, make sure you're Adam's mentioned it a lot. Check out the Inside the Birds live pregame show on Sunday. It's been fantastic to work with, not just you, Adam, but Greg Cosell and Trey, because they see so many things that actually wind up happening. So watch it and share it and tell people about it, please. We're getting great viewership. I really appreciate it.
By the way, it's pinned to our Twitter profile for Inside the Birds at Inside Birds on Twitter.
Yep.
You could see it. You just hit it and it plays, and you can move the stick to whatever you want. You can move the meter to whatever part of the show you want to hear. It's on. So the traced education on the offensive line, the hand usage, it's been unbelievably educational. Geoff and I have learned so much, and Cosell's stuff, because he's watching every team, is just invaluable. This is why we created the show. It's for you guys, and please keep supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's finish this up real quick with I said we were going to clarify something that we said on 97.5 The Fanatic Monday night, because I think people misconstrued it a little bit. It was in reference to Jim Schwartz and the amount of power he has in the organization. And we both said he has power. His voice carries weight.
He has
input, I should say. Yeah. I say he does not draft the players, and I stand by that. He does not draft the players. Now, there was a story that ran last year in the Inquirer by Jeff McClain that is kind of remaking the rounds because of how bad the Eagles' defense has been.
Okay.
And it talks about an anecdote in which Jim wanted a linebacker, and Howie and the scouting staff came to him with a choice. You can either have Jamie Collins or you can have Zach Brown. And the scouting people preferred Jamie Collins, as the story says, and Jim wanted Zach Brown, so they signed Zach Brown. I don't know if that's some kind of example of hail to the king Jim Schwartz. It's a guy who wants a specific player, and so the team decided to give him the player that he wants. That doesn't mean he's in the war room drafting guys, though. And I can't make that more. He does not have personnel. How he has the personnel say.
He has control, full control. He has practice squad, roster, 53, game day if he wants to, enact as if he wants to. He has full personnel control. Let me, because I don't want to make this an hour. We're going to like spend 5 minutes on this thing. So let me explain the way it works. Every general manager will ask for input because they have to get players that fit the schemes that they're running on offense and defense. So you have to do that. You don't draft guys without talking to your coordinators. It doesn't work. By the way, it doesn't happen. Jim has probably more input just based on my talk with other teams than most coordinators. Doesn't mean they're going to do what he wants. But now, if that story is true that McClain reported, I get it that he thinks Zach Brown fits a certain way that they play. Jamie Collins is a much better football player. Now, the difference is Jamie Collins would have cost him a lot more money. That, I didn't read I read the story when it came out. If you're going to report that, you have to talk about money because it's not even remotely close to what either guy would want. I mean, I don't know why. I could understand why Schwartz would want Brown because he plays a specific way. Collins and that kid Brown, you couldn't ask for two completely different players. They're so different. That's
a big part of it, right? Yeah. And one played in a scheme that he had already been in, right? Jamie Collins had been in New England. He went back to New England. I don't know how Jamie Collins would have played in Philadelphia's scheme. Zach Brown's a downhill linebacker. We know the Eagles play the wide nine, and you like those good run-stopping linebackers, and that's what his reputation was. And I'm not saying that the Eagles made the right move or anything. They wound up releasing Zach Brown, but cutting LJ Fort, that is a Howie Roseman.
Oh, that's a way. Yeah, and by the way, that one I have a problem with. I don't care about Jamie Collins not coming to the Eagles because they don't. You got when you're going to report stuff or make comments about the Eagles blew this or that. You got to have context. You just laid it out. You could not do it any better than you just laid it out. That's not the issue. The issue is the evaluations on players in general by scheme. They missed on Zach Brown. That I don't care about Jamie Collins. It doesn't matter to me. The thing that matters is they missed on Brown. Collins was once one of the best linebackers in football. He really regressed, then revived on his second tour duty with the Patriots. The reason why he's in Detroit is because he's a specific scheme fit. The thing about Schwartz, another knock on him, which I think is really true, he plays a specific way, his defense. Specialty players are not guys who are going to do well with I'm talking about linebacker. He doesn't play linebackers like that. He just doesn't. I'm glad they got stuff out of Gerard Avery 2 weeks ago, and we'll see if he can do it, match it up again. But Schwartz does not have a history of using linebackers like especially linebackers. He's never done it.
No, that was a different wrinkle in the game plan.
Yeah.
All right, so that's about it. I think we covered everything and clarified ourselves there, so I hope people understand that.
Yeah, Jim has input, folks. Most coordinators around the National Football League have input. This is nothing new.
Right, especially veteran coordinators.
Right. Now, what I would tell you, he has influence. If he indeed, again, I don't know because you and I are not in there and it's not been reported, but if the conversation was like, you better get me this player or else, if he threatened Howie or whatever, I have no idea what happened. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing wrong with it. Coach saying, hey, listen, I'd like to get this player. He fits our scheme better than Jamie Collins. Okay, now Jim was wrong in that he missed on Zach Brown. If that's what happened. Now, who's a player just escaped me because it's a perfect example of, Eric Rowe, I know for a fact, 100% Eric Rowe was off the Eagles roster because of Jim Schwartz. That's a fact.
Definitely.
Okay, absolutely so true. That's where I have not talked to the Eagles because it's been 4 years since it happened.
I ripped the Eagles when they did it. I thought it was unfair.
Stupid. It was now they got actually pretty good value. They got a fourth rounder, I think, for a guy that was not a good scheme fit for them. But to me, man, you got to make it work because the kid wound up playing safety. See, this is what Jim Schwartz has got to do. Don't be so short-sighted. This is what Roseman's got to do. Okay, yeah, you wind up getting pretty good value for a guy that you couldn't use. I know Howie didn't draft him. Chip did. But Jim didn't want him. He wanted him out there, I'm told, within the first couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved him. Okay, they got fourth-round pick back, which is not terrible. But the thing that bothers me is the guy wound up being a decent player, a serviceable player who moved positions. You couldn't make this guy a safety because you didn't think he ran well enough? Come on, man.
I'm with you on that. By the way, that would probably be one of those fourth-rounders in 2017. So they either got Donnell Pumphrey or –
And by the way, who did they play in the Super Bowl? Who did they burn in the Super Bowl?
They got it. Although Alshon made a great catch over him.
I know.
It's 10 yards behind the field.
I know it's fair, but I'm just saying.
Right, and he's with the Dolphins now, right?
I'm sorry.
He's with the Dolphins now. He's still in the league.
He actually got an extension, a nice little extension.
There you go.
I just think teams can be too short-sighted sometimes. You gotta think outside the box. If a guy that this team, and it doesn't matter who drafted him, if a team drafts a guy in the second round, what, and you don't want him anymore because the coordinator doesn't want him, can you talk to the coordinator? Maybe they did have this conversation. I don't know. I never asked. But now that we can look back, could you look back and say, you know what? Could we have looked back and said, maybe we should have played him at safety?
Right.
Try another way. That's all I got.
Or something. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out him on YouTube. It's called Sports Talk with Broads. Make sure you check out his Twitter account as well, @Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds.